Hello friends, welcome back to another session from this book Word Power Made Easy, session 26, and we have been talking about various speech habits or speeches of people, and in the 25 session also we did talk about many speeches. Today also we are going to do few more types of speeches and speaking habits, and we will see different words related to those speeches. Now, our first word is laconic, and it's a kind of a speech or type of saying something. So, laconic, thing. So, laconic. It simply means the one who speaks less and perfect. So, two elements are there: speaking less and at the same time is speaking perfectly. Okay, so such kind of speech or saying or communication is brief, pithy, succinct, concise, and to the point. Okay, so that is what we mean by laconic. And we have an interesting story of origin regarding this word. We don't have any specific root there, but very interesting story is there. So let me tell you about that. Okay, so you one ancient place in Greece that was known as Sparta. Okay, and its another name was Laconia. So what we today famously know as Sparta was once known as Laconia. Okay, now what happened once, uh, this particular region of Laconia was attacked by some foreign, military leader. A military leader from the foreign country, perhaps from Macedonia, had besieged Laconia or Sparta. Okay, so once upon a time, they had surrounded the place of Laconia, and they were trying to besiege this place called Laconia, and they were standing at the gates of Sparta or Laconia. So what happens? The messenger from the king of Macedonia, who had besieged Laconia, that messenger comes to the commander of Laconia and talks to him. Okay, so there's a specific conversation that I want to discuss with you. So what happens? The messenger says, if we capture your city, we will burn it to the ground. Okay, so that's a kind of warning. Okay, so messenger and the king of Macedonia, they wanted Sparta to surrender, but as you know that the people of Sparta or Laconia were quite stoical or hard bitten. They were very much military minded, and they were very much disciplined also. They lived a very harsh lifestyle, and they had a very strong body also, muscular body. And another thing for which the people of Sparta or simply Laconians were known was their economy of speech. Okay, they used to speak very less in less words. Okay, so the messenger arrives and threatens the commander of Laconia that if we capture your city, we will burn it to the ground. Now the Spartan commander says, just one word answer comes, if. Okay, so you see how brief this reply is. Okay, if we capture your city, then we will burn it to the ground. But the point is if. Only if you capture, then only you can burn this city to the ground. But the thing is that you are not going to capture it, because we are very brave and we will fight. Okay, so many things are said with just this word if. Okay, so since then such kind of reply or such kind of speech is known as laconic. Okay, so now people probably do not know about the origin and story of this word, but they characterized a particular speech which is very short, brief and impactful as laconic. Okay, so laconic is a brief, terse and curt or succinct. Another root that we have is kojo. Okay, it's an interesting root, and we have just one word from here, which is cogent. Okay, cogent speech or cogent speaker. Now co has something to do with like with, it means with, and go is like, as you know, going together or being with. So that is the etymological meaning of this word kojo. Okay, going together with somebody. Now cogent speech is that speech where you have logic, a strong reasoning, and it's very forceful and persuasive. That kind of speech is called cogent speech. Okay, so how do you relate with the root meaning? Logical and full of reasoning. Then what happens? You agree with that person. Okay, so the probability is that you will follow that person, you will go along with that person, you will co-jo with that person. That is why a cogent speech, a speech which you would like to follow or agree with, that is called a cogent speech. Okay, so you are compelled and you are persuaded with the sheer force of reason or logic. Okay, or it is articulated also, well articulated. Okay, so that kind of speech is called cogent speech, and as you can guess, it's a complementary term. Okay, so both the words, in fact the previous one also laconic and cogent, they both are complementary or positive words. Now we come back once again to our root loquar, and this root we had discussed last time also, but few more words are there which has been discussed or which have been discussed in this particular session. Now one thing is eloquent, and something similar is magniloquent also, and grandiloquent also. Now eloquent, e you can understand as something like excellent. Okay, excellent, effective or simply great. Okay, so excellent speech is called eloquent speech. Okay, so once again full of reasoning, full of use of good words and persuasive, flowery language. It can, compel anyone to do anything. That is called an eloquent speech. Okay. So once again, it's a quality of speech also, and a person also can be eloquent person. Okay. And if someone is eloquent to a very high degree, that person is called magniloquent or grandiloquent. Now these two words also have the same root, loquent, which is to speak something, and magna is great, or mega is simply great, and grandi, here you have grandi also means great. Okay, grand is great. So eloquent, magniloquent, and grandiloquent. So you can also say, if a person is persuasive speaker, eloquent person, or if you think that that person is superb or excellent speaker, something more than eloquent, you can say magniloquent or grandiloquent. Now let me just give you some examples from the present times and from the history. Some people who you can call as eloquent speakers. So this will make things clear. Okay, so people like Shashi. Okay, so people like Shashi Tharoor, even our current Prime Minister Narendra Modi, Atal Bihari Vajpayee, our former late Prime Minister. They were all eloquent speakers from politics. From America, we have had Abraham Lincoln, Barack Obama, Mahatma Gandhi was also called eloquent speaker, Subhash Chandra Bose, and many, in fact, religious leaders also are quite eloquent or grandiloquent or magniloquent, such as Jaggi Vasudev, Osho Rajneesh, or Swami Vivekanand. All these people were eloquent speakers. Okay. Now another route. Now another route that we just came across is mega, which is great. Okay. So we have a number of words in English language from this root. Simply means great. Now one thing is magnanimous. Okay, mega is great and animus is mind. Animus is mind. So a person with great mind is called magnanimous. Okay, great mind or great heart also you can say is called magnanimous person. Okay, so great people like Mahatmas and even Gert, people like who forgive very easily, they forget about the mistakes of other people, and they're very generous. And often this word is compared with pusillanimous. Now pusi is something very small. Okay, and animus is mind, so small minded people are called pusillanimous. So just take one example. For instance, if somebody hurts you or abuses you, so if you become angry and if you wish to take vengeance or revenge, and in return you hurl maybe 10 more abuses to the person who abuses you, so what you are being pusillanimous. And if on the other hand, if you are compassionate or if you are merciful and if you forgive that person, okay, then what you are magnanimous. Okay, So we have the choice or options of being either magnanimous or pusillanimous in the hard times. Okay. Another word from mega is magnate. So magnate is simply mega person or a great person from a certain field. Okay, maybe from business or from education or from politics. So it's not magnet which is chumbak. Okay, so magnet is something else. This one is magnate. Okay, so for example, Bill Gates is the magnet of IT industry, you can say. Okay, so something like that. Now we have a score of other words such as master, magistrate, Maharaja, Maharshi, Mahatma. These words from Hindi language or Sanskrit, they have also come into English and they are being used in English language. Okay, so English has assimilated these words from Sanskrit language also. Another word from history is Charles Magne. Okay, so there was an emperor uh, probably in 7th or 8th century AD in Europe. So his name was Charles Magne. Okay, so it literally it means Karl the Great. Okay, Charles Magne, right? So this root Magne or Mega is there. Now, now one more important word is there, which is called magnum opus. Okay, so magnum is great and opus is work. Okay, so there are or there have been many prolific or great writers in history and who write many things, but often it happens that their one book becomes very famous or is considered very great. Okay, so that work is called magnum opus or the great work of that particular author. Okay, so for example, I'll give you some illustrations from Indian literature. So how you use this word, for example, the magnum opus of Vyas was, you can say, Mahabharat. Okay, so probably Vyas wrote many other texts also, but his great work was Mahabharat. Okay, similarly of Valmiki we have Ramayana. Okay, of Tulsidas, magnum opus of Tulsidas is the renowned Ram Charit Manas. Okay, so Tulsidas wrote many other prose and poems also, but this one is his great work or his magnum opus. Okay, Kautilya wrote Arthashastra. Okay, this book, you know, the ancient book on economics or polity. Okay, so that is called magnum opus. Opus is work and magnum is great. And from opus we have few more words. For example, opus dei. Okay, now dei is I think we discussed sometimes earlier, is deus, and deus is dev and dev is God. Okay, so the work of God is called opus dei, and work in the sense any book. Okay, so all the books from religions, all the things of God. Okay, not the work of any person but the work of any God. Okay, so Opus Dei is the work of God. Okay, we have some other words like opera. So opera is a work, okay, where people work together. Okay, for example, in the context of music. Okay, so music opera, where many musicians will perform certain musical shows. Okay, so opera. Cooperate you have. Okay, so co is together and opera is work. So cooperate is to work together. Okay, operator, the one who works. Okay, simply the worker is called operator. Okay, so okay, simply the worker is called operator. Okay, so in these three words also we have this root opera, which is to work. Okay, so magnum opus, opus dei, opera, cooperate and operator. Now we have two more types of speeches, and one is verbose and one is voluble. So it's a bit tricky because both these words mean speaking more. Okay, now verbum is called in Latin simply as words. Okay, when you speak more. Okay, and voluble also is a kind of a speech where you speak more, or where you speak in volumes, okay, on any specific topic. So in both the speeches you speak more, but one is negative and one is positive. Okay, because you can speak more something relevant also and something irrelevant also. So verbose is negative. Okay, verbose is negative. So in verbose speech you speak more, but you say very few things, or you say something irrelevant, and maybe you repeat so many things, so that your speech is not considered to be good speech. That so many things, so that your speech is not considered to be good speech. That is verbose speech. Okay, what a verbose people say. And voluble is like it's a positive word or a positive ascription. So that speech where you speak on a topic but something relevant or something important. Okay, so the prerequisite is that you can only be voluble if you are expert in particular field. Okay, so for example, a professor in a certain discipline is going to be a voluble speaker generally, okay, regarding his topics of expertise. Okay, so verbose and voluble, both of them mean speaking more, but verbose is speaking irrelevant things and voluble. So from root verbum, which I just told you is like verb or words, we have few more words like verbiage. Now verbiage once again has two meanings. One meaning is negative, one meaning is neutral. One way in which we use this word verbiage is to say the excess of a speech. Okay, so something same as verbose, right? So we say what a verbiage. Now neutral, in the neutral sense also it has been used, like we say verbiage or medical verbiage, let's say, or military verbiage. So here it simply means simply a kind of vocabulary. So there are special terms which are used in military. So we have a simply a military verbiage or a military dictionary or a medical verbiage. Okay, so here verbiage means vocabulary, something like vocabulary, and negatively it means excess of words or excess of speech. Okay, something similar to verbose. Another famous or commonly used word is ad verbatim. Okay, so this simply means word by word. Word by word. So you can report something ad verbatim. You can translate something ad verbatim. So what happens? Word by word. Okay. So for example, if I say something to you and if you report my speech to another person in exactly the same words which I used, then what you are doing, you are reporting ad verbatim. Or if I'm saying something in English and if you translate it in any other language, let's say in Hindi, using the exact word by word translation, so what you are doing or you are translating ad verbatim. Okay, so ad verbatim is word by word. Now we have our last root in today's session, which is voltus. Now voltus is to roll. Okay, something like this. Okay, like a ball rolls, that's called rolling. So voltus, we have many words from this root also, just like you have revolve. Okay, for example, sun is there and the earth revolves around it. Okay, so that is called revolving or revolution, right? Rolling again and again around something is called revolution or revolving. One thing is called involve. Now in is like you are coming in into certain matter, and volve is roll. So into some matter is called involve, is to get involved into that matter. Okay, now evolve is there. Okay, e is x or out. So when you are rolling out, that is called evolve. Okay, so rolling out in the sense you grow. Okay, and the very famous theory of evolution is there. So evolve is rolling out. So what happens in evolution, certain traits are there in your genes and they roll out, okay, over a large period of time. So we adapt to our environment and we evolve. Okay, now the opposite of evolution is devolution or devolve. Okay, when you don't grow up but you become more simple, okay, and more elementary. So that is called devolution. Okay, so from the root voltus we have so many words like revolve, revolution, involve, exvolve. Okay, that is evolve or evolution, and devolve or devolution. And remember that here this d is the negative prefix. Okay, d is the negation, devolution. So like you have in degeneration, deconstruction, similarly. So that's it for today, and thanks for watching. And you can now, I think easily you can do the exercises from session number 26. I guess it was 26. 6, I guess it was